Hey, welcome to this lesson. So in this lesson, we're going to go over kind of the basics of the Fusion interface. So let me switch over here. So first and foremost, the top here of the ribbon, this has where you're going to get to your different commands and things. Over here we have the file box. We're going to create a new file. We close it, whatever. If you're in electronics design, exporting, things like that. Don't need to do a whole lot of that since most of your things can be saved here inside of Fusion. So if we click on these little 9 dots here, that shows the data panel. We go back, I can see all the different projects I've worked on. You'll probably just have this default project, and I've got a lot of stuff. Some libraries down here and some sample projects that you can open, kind of play with down here. Go back to that project I was in. So whenever you open a file, the first thing you want to do is save it. So I'm going to hit save, give it a name. So I'm going to call this test. And then you're going to pick which project you're going to put it into. So I have it here. If you don't have a project already created, you can create one now by hitting new project. So you can kind of keep things organized, and then hit save. And then there we go. It creates that file for us. So now I'm just going to hit this and hide that data panel because I don't need it kind of getting in the way and everything. So on the ribbon over here, we have workspaces. So design workspaces where we do design work, where we create models and things, changes and things like that. Generative design is you can go in and use rules to change how it's going to be. Rendering gives realistic views. Animations give animations. Simulations let us test what the parts are going to be like. Manufacturer lets you set it up to have it sent over to a CNC machine to actually make that part. And drawing allows you to create 2D drawings from your 3D models. So we're going to stay in design. Then over here, we've got some options. We've got solid, surface, form, mesh, sheet metal, and tools. And we're getting these set of options because I have the timeline turned off. So if I go to my settings, so the preferences, design, I can change this design history to prompt. Now whenever I start a new file, it asks me, do I want to capture the history? And if I say yes, I'll have this timeline down here, which you can turn off by clicking on the gear and saying do not capture. Or if I close this again, say don't save, it gives me the option to do not capture. And I'm going to say, remember my choice. I'm going to say do not capture. Because for this set of videos, we're going to be working in direct mode, which means no history. I'm going to go ahead and also just reopen up that file that I created just by double clicking on it. You can see that there was a file called Untitled, but as soon as I opened up a file, that one went away. Because Fusion always wants you to have something open. I'm going to close that. And so we're going to have here, within here, we've got a couple panels. So we've got create, the tools that are used to create geometry, modify it, used to modify it, assemble to put it together. Construction helps you, gives you things to create geometry on top of. Inspection tools, insert tools, selection tools. I'm not sure if this one is on by default, but go ahead and click this and turn on component drag if it's not already selected. So below that, we have the drawing area, this big white space here. The left side, we have the browser, and that contains the things that we've done within our model, the bodies we've created, things like that. You'll see once I actually start get going. Over in the right corner, I've got this view cube. You can't really see what it's doing right now because there's nothing on the screen. But as I create a model, you'll see how that works. We've got a little comment box down here. You can expand by hitting the little plus sign. So you can take screenshots and make comments. This is used if you're working on a project with other people. And then you've got some tools down here in the bottom. So let's go ahead and start by creating something. So I'm going to go to create. I'm going to go down to box. So these ones, box, cylinder, sphere, torus, coil and pipe. These are what we call primitives. With the exception of the pipe, you don't need to have anything else to create them. The pipe, you do need a sketch so that it knows where to follow that. So I want to create a box. Now it's going to ask me to pick a plane to put the box on. So I'm going to pick this bottom plane, and I can draw wherever, but it's usually good to start by touching this little dot here. That's called the origin. So it's the origin there. And that's where our 0 point, that's where our X, Y, Z axes connect. So I'll click there, and I'm just going to draw this out. I can either just randomly draw it, or I can type numbers, but we can always edit the numbers later. So I'm just going to click a point, and now you can see it's here. And so now I can grab this and drag it and drag these. You can see that's 38, automatically snapped over the next 10th. If I zoom in more, so I just use the mouse wheel, I rolled it towards myself, I zoomed in, roll the mouse wheel out, and zooms out. So the more you're in, now it's gonna go in smaller divisions. If I scroll out, now it's gonna go in larger divisions. And that's when you're 1/2 inch, okay? So I can kind of do that and then say, okay. So now I've got an object. So now if I click over here on the view cube, I'm clicking on it and dragging. I'm kind of going around, that's called an orbit. So I'm orbiting around my model. If I pick the different corners of the view cube, I'm gonna have isometrics in those corners. If I click an edge, I can kind of look straight at that edge. If I click the face, I can look straight at that face. If I click the house, it goes back to this isometrically at the top, the front, and the right side. If I press the mouse wheel and then move, you can see it's panning. If I hold shift and press the mouse wheel and move the mouse, now I'm back to doing orbit without having to go over here and grab the view cube. You can see it also highlighted down here on the bottom of the screen what I was doing. If I just click it, it goes to pan. It doesn't really do anything on zoom, but I can click here and then just click and drag up and down to zoom also. I don't use these at all. I'll either use the cube, use the mouse, or I have a 3D mouse over here, which lets me do the whole thing without having to hit any extra buttons. And so you'll see a lot of times that I actually just use this. These are about $100. They're really handy. It makes me at least 2 to 3 times faster, if not more, because I'm not having to stop whatever I'm doing and hit shift, and I can just do this while I'm still moving this mouse around doing other things. So you can also see over here, now that I added this, that under bodies, I have a thing, and I can now expand that, and there's a body now. So a piece of 3D geometry is a body. I can also see an extrude for the box command that made this. I forgot to mention this, that as I typed in, it was in inches. That's because here under document settings, my units are set to inches. If you want to change your units, you can click here and then change to something else. And that'll just be from right now. If I create something new, you can see now it's in millimeters. But I can still type 1 inch, and it's going to still make it 1 inch. No matter what the units are set to, you can still override that by typing in a different set of units. I'm going to put this back to inches and say okay. All right, so now I'm going to create something else. So I'm going to create a box, and now I can either draw on an existing flat face, or I can go back to the origin and I can pick these planes, those first 3 planes. Usually after you've created something, you want to draw on that thing, not back on those main planes anymore. So I'm just going to box. Let's say I'll pick the side plane, and now I can go around. I can snap to the edge. I can snap to the midpoint, to the corner. So I'll do that. Snap to the corner, and I'll come over here. Now I can adjust for however big I want. So just by picking on the handle, now if I type, it's going to change that direction. If I'm pulling away from the part, It's going to add to it. You can see it's set to join here. If I drag into the part, now it's going to cut the part. So I'm going to say OK. Let's see, I'm going to add a cylinder. Click here, put a cylinder in. I can adjust the diameter, if it's going to stick up or go in. If I drag all the way through and say OK, now it just goes all the way through the whole thing. So that's kind of how we start by making our parts with the primitives. At this point, since I really had no way of telling where that was, this is more for just kind of getting ideas out there that we might fine tune later once we get to some of the other tools. So we have those. I can also this move command. So if I pick this and I leave it on faces, I can click this and you can see it kind of is trying to find a spot to go. If I come over here to the extrude, now it's going to lock in aligned with the axes. So now I can just grab it and grab these arrows and move this around wherever I want it to be. I can also grab these little circles here. I can tilt it. So I can actually tilt it up there, hit OK. Now it's so going to the bottom. Now it's going to come out the side. If I had a cylinder that was sticking up, watch what happens now. If I click here and I pick the side face of it, so I just pick the side of it and I tilt, like the top of it staying kind of where it was. It's just adjusting for being an ellipse. If I get out of that, so I just hit escape to get out of it. And I pick the top and I hold control and pick the side, or I pick the side and then control and hit the top. And now I tilt it. So the top is now tilting also. Okay, let's say I hit save. I save this. Now, if I go and look at my part, you'll see that it's going to update. And now it's going to say V2 down here. And you can see I've been adding different things to the browser here. I can also grab this face and adjust where this face is. I can also hit this little button here to set pivot, and I can move this around. So I can move it up there. And now if I do the tilt, now I can tilt that face. So I can move. So if I kind of go down here to start out with, now it's already there. I don't have to move it. And now I can move that face. And so this is how you're going to start to create more complex geometry just by using the primitives and the move tool. Okay, I hit save. That adds that in. All right, let's say I've been working. I get done with this. And then I come back the next day. I open it up and look at it and say, ooh, I don't really like that. So if I don't like this hole right here, I can just kind of go down, pick until I get it selected and hit delete, and that hole goes away. No problem. But if I don't like these, that I slanted these, I can't, there's nothing I can do to just take those away other than taking out this whole cut and starting it again. But what I could do is I can just close this down. I'm just saying, no, don't save what I changed. And if I hit the little V, I go back and look at old versions. So here's that older version. If I click here and go to open, I'm just gonna take a look at it. And I can look and say, okay, this does have it. It has the vertical walls. That's what I wanted. But I can't do anything here. I can't hit save because it's locked, because there's a newer version. But what I can do now is just close that, click on this, and then hit promote. And that'll make that old version now be the current version. You see now it also bumped up to V4. So now this is both V3 or V2 and V4. So now I can say, yep, I don't like that, but I did want these vertical ones. Now I can save this again, and now it's going to be versions 5. And you can keep going. I have some files that are in the 90s, I think, or hundreds. But it allows you to go back as far as you want to. So I can close that down. So once I have this, let me put that, I'm just gonna go undo and get that hole back there. If I wanna check how big something is, I can go over here to inspect. I can measure. So if I click on a face and a point, it's gonna measure just the distance between, kind of perpendicular between those. So if I do that again, from here to that point, you can see it's measuring perpendicular to the face to the point. Like from there to here, you can kind of see it now. If I pick this and I pick 2 points, it's going to give me that distance. I can also click here and it'll give me the X, Y, and Z distances. So there was no Z distance there. Here, now I can see the X, Y, and Z distances between those 2 points. If I pick 2 edges, it just gives me that edge. And if they're at an angle to each other, I'd get that angle. So I can use that to kind of measure where things are if I pick 2 faces, kind of like that. So another good inspection tool is down here, the section analysis here. So I click that and I click a face, and now I can kind of cut into the part parallel to that face. I can also use these tools here to tilt and change direction and things like that. So if I do that and I say, okay, it's showing it cut. Now you can see in the browser that's added another entry called analysis. I can turn that off, turn it on. I can also create more than one section analysis. I can pick here, go that way. And now I can expand that. And only one can be active at a time. I can switch between them, or I can just turn it off and leave that one on, the whole folder on, so that if I make another one in the future, it'll be on. But I can always come back and say, oh, that's what I want to look at. Maybe I want to look at how something's fitting in there or something like that. There's also the center of mass tool. So if I pick the object and say, okay, it's going to put a little thing in there at the center of mass. So this is kind of the basics of what you need to get started making a model here in Fusion. So try it out. The next lesson I'll get into some more tools that are a little more detailed, but I kind of like to let people get in, play with it, create some objects, learn how to use the views. So, to navigate around, saving files. So work on that before the next video. All right. I hope you had a good day and learned some things. So see you next time.